Well, thank you everyone for coming out. This is our last guest speaker for the semester. The last time that we meet in person is a hybrid class. If I don't know if I mentioned that. The last time and next time that we meet will be on December 8th. So we aren't meeting the month of November with Veterans Day and the Oh, your birthday! Oh, I'm sorry I missed that. And the week of fall recess, we won't meet again until December 8th. So as you can see on here, underneath the bio, there are several assignments still remaining. So tomorrow is the deadline for the health career summaries. So for those of you in the class, 11:55 p.m. is the deadline. Did anyone have any questions about how to send it out? Pretty straightforward, I think. Super template to fill out. And then on the 11th, your LinkedIn profiles will be due. So work on your profile, but just submit the link. On the 17th of November, information interview. So there's additional information online about that. On the 2nd will be your personal goal plan, part 2. So that is, again, using the Passion Encounter roadmap, but for this assignment, years 1 and years 3. So 1 year out from now and 3 years out from now, what you want to be doing. And hopefully, by taking this class, reading the textbook, listening to our guest speakers and the other resources via video that we provided online, you have a better understanding of what your 1 year and 3 year plans are. And then your group video projects, which Professor Mike shared last week, will be due on the 8th. So that, again, that's the time that we meet in person. And the last thing after that is just a reflection journal. So even though we're not meeting in November, hopefully you will be staying busy with all these assignments. The first part of class is really about you finding out what's out there, and then now you actually go out and figure out what you're going to do for yourself. That makes sense. All right, cool. So, also, with it being the last class on December 8th, we'll also probably do like a breakfast, lunch, all that kind of thing. So just look out for more information on signing up. Any questions about class stuff? All right, so we do have, I guess, a smaller group today. I know it's what, like week 10, 11? Week 11?
Oh, next week, sorry.
Yeah, it's week 10. I know I've been used to quarter systems for my undergrad and grad school, so I'm like, okay, it should be done by now. But the semester system, we got 6 more weeks. So I know it feels like a long semester, maybe to you all. I know it's just stick with it almost there. So with that said, I'm really excited to introduce our guest speaker for today. So far, in our guest speaker series, you heard from a panel of rehabilitation therapists, so speech therapists, occupational therapists, and physical therapists. Last week, you heard from a public health professional who also does work in the mental health space. Today, we have a licensed clinical social worker who has a background in community organizing and things like that. So I don't know how much you want me to get into your bio. But you have it all in front of you. Amy, Pam, well, how we're connected is we both went to Cal Poly Toronto. I actually didn't know her at the time.
What? You went to Cal Poly?
I went to Cal Poly.
You're lying.
I went to Cal Poly.
That?
That's actually where I met my husband, Mike Manolo Pedro, who is friends with her. I was a business major.
No, what? No, that's crazy. Sorry. We'll talk about that later. In personal time.
But yeah, that is our connection through your other professor. And so Amy has a long history of doing community activism and is using that now in the space of social work. So go ahead.
Okay. So can I just have you all introduce yourselves? Like, can you say your name and then maybe one thing about you? Like maybe your favorite quality about yourself or, yeah, that's what I want. I want your name and then like your best quality. Yeah, that's what it is. And we'll start this way.
My name is Elizabeth. My best quality is my laugh.
You laugh? Me too.
My name is Angelica, and my best quality is. Or not, I'm always smiling. Okay, my name is Jamlet. I also go by Jam, and my best quality, I think I would sound very understanding.
Hi, my name is Ciara, and my best quality, I would say I'm loyal to my friends.
And what was your name again?
Ciara.
Ciara?
My name is Kim, and I think my best quality is being like creative or artistic.
Hi, my name is Valerie, and my best quality would be I'm friendly.
I'm Candace, and I think my best quality is finding the humor in things.
Yes, we like.
Hi, my name is Eliza, and my best quality would be I'm really organized.
Okay. That's good. So just out of curiosity, are any of you actually considering going into the field of social work? Maybe? Okay. Yeah? Maybe? Okay. So I guess I'm just curious off the jump if there are like immediate dying questions that people have about the field or about the work. Just out of curiosity. Because then I can make sure I include that, right? What's your immediate question?
Just like the difference between NFT and
Oh, girl, I will talk about that. I'm so glad you brought that up. That is critical. I'm so glad because I wasn't sure if I needed to be that detailed. I wasn't going to be, but I'm so glad that you said that because I do think there's a really big difference. And so, yes, and I actually am going to pass something out that kind of specifically talks to that. And then what? Do you have an immediate question? No. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, but if you think of them, right, write it down because like I said, I'm not really much one to talk per se. I mean, I love talking. More like a conversation, right? Versus like,
handout.
like that. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna do, okay, so if you have a writing utensil, take a writing utensil out just in case you may need it. But I want to do just a little reflection really quick before we start. I would like it if you all can kind of just take a second for, to stop, right? I don't know where you came from. I don't know how your day started, but, right, I want you to be present, I think, like to this moment and to yourself, And I think like what Erin mentioned, I'm really happy that you're here and I hope that this is helpful for you, right? In terms of clarifying where you are on your journey and kind of what you want for yourself. Okay, and what you want to really be able to contribute. So what I want you to think about, and if you need to write it down, that's cool, and if you don't, just know it, it's all good. I want you to think about what kind of impact are you hoping to make in your life? Kind of a deep question, I recognize that. So, I'm just sorry. That's where we are this morning. But what kind of impact are you hoping to make in your life? Okay, deep question. Just think about it. Maybe you'll have an answer, maybe you won't. It's all good. Okay, and then after that question, my next question is, what is one of your most important core values? That was a little big. Deep. Yeah. And I think as I move on with my little presentation that I have, I hope those questions will make sense. Not later. We'll tie it up. So what kind of impact do you want to make in your life? As it relates, to I think the career that you're choosing. It doesn't have to necessarily, but if that helps to kind of, help you get to an answer, yeah. But it doesn't have to be related to a career. Just what kind of impact are you trying to make with your life? Is that too big?
I think it's good. It's open-ended.
Yeah, right. Interpret it however you want that to be interpreted. And then what's one core value that you have? One really important core value.
more students have been in school.
Yeah.
Whether they're in the circle or not present.
Yeah, and actually, I really want to choose that. I don't think they're considered so. But that doesn't come to me. I think you can make the character and kind of see well. You can make that what it is. But you can make it in terms of it's really better. Okay, not how much it's like. Because to me that is, I think, when you feel your colleague, that is the difference, and that's why sometimes I'm stronger. And then I am gonna bring that into my work. So, and I'm gonna have that community organizing my experience, so those are from that.
Can you go to the 70 conference last week?
Okay, so I'm gonna move this along. And I guess I wasn't gonna do this in the beginning, but I will, just because I think the direction that things are going. I only made 4 copies because I'm not expecting you all to take this home, especially if people aren't necessarily that moved to be in the social work field. But maybe you want to take this? And Helga. Hi, that's my cousin. So cool.
Family's here.
I know, right? You'll understand why later. Why we're able to be cousins. Anyways, so I am an MSW, right? An LCSW. And so for both fields, whether you're MFT or MSW, there are associations that guide, okay, those fields. And so for MSW, it's the National Association of Social Workers. For MFT, it's something similar, National Association of Married and Family Therapists. And so within both of those fields, they have core values and principles that guide the work that they do. I didn't bring the one for MFT because I'm not an MFT, but I'm going to email it to Erin so that she can provide it to you all, because I think it would be really interesting to do a little compare and contrast. I think, again, and how you said, you know, and Candace, you said, if you really are considering these fields to kind of see the difference. So I'm just going to pass that out. If you just want to look at it, you know, to inform yourself, I think that would be cool. Okay. So before we officially start, can you, I just want to go around really quick. So for my 2 new people who came, can you share your name?
Vanessa.
Anaí. Vanessa, Anaí, okay. Good. Cool.
Just a DFN.
So just so that you know, we were having people think about what kind of impact they want to make in their life, and then what's a core value that they have. Okay? And so what I want to do right now, and Anaí, sorry, I'm going to start with you, because just to be fair, right, we started with you last time. What do you think is one of your core values?
Education.
Education? Okay. Liza?
Yes. I feel like family.
Third.
Family.
Family.
My faith.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay.
Assisting.
Assistant. Helping. Oh man. Y'all sure you want to be social workers? I'm just teasing you. Okay. So I'll go ahead and start. And I do hope you have time at the end because I just would like to talk to y'all and learn more about you. So I'm going to share a little bit about my personal history. I think you have a lot of it there, but I'll say it just because I think it relates in terms of this larger topic of social work and the work that I do. So my personal background, And this is how I moved my cousin, right? so I'm mixed, right? So I'm mestiza, Hapa. I'm Chinese Ecuadorian. So my mom's from Ecuador, and then my dad's from Hong Kong, China, right? And we come to LA and we meet and like that. I'm a second generation American, right? So my parents are immigrants, and I'm the first generation to actually be born here in this country. I'm a first generation college student, so I think we're in solidarity with that. You know, I grew up like lower middle class, and I'm a daughter of immigrants. And then my partner wanted me to also share that. Our kids are mixed, so my kids are Chinese, Ecuadorian, Mexican. My partner's Mexican, so anyway, that's fine. And you know, the reason why I want to share that personal background is because I think it's really important. For me, it was really important in terms of social work and the career that I chose, because I think my lived experience, being a first generation college student, so much shaped, I think, who I was and my experience in life. Just in terms of like what I had access to, what I didn't have access to, my struggles that I had, wanting to do better, not knowing how to, not having my parents to turn to, and you know, figuring things out, right? So I think that is a very unique experience. And I you know, the reason why I share these personal things is because I think for me, that was really important in terms of knowing that, wow, there are some things that have happened in my life, and there are struggles that people are going through, and I don't want them to go through those struggles alone. You know what I'm saying? And I want to be able to speak to people's experiences that are probably really similar to mine. You know what I'm saying? And so how can I use my privilege, right, in terms of being someone who has lived that experience and gone through it to help them come up, right? So they don't got to go through the same struggle, or if they go through the same struggle, it's a little bit easier. You know what I'm saying? Or they know that someone else has done it, or that someone else has their back. Does that make sense? So for me, that was just really important, no matter like what field I was going to go into. Yeah? Okay. So right, so that's like my personal stuff. I went to undergrad, like she said, at Cal Poly, and I'm all about the CSUs. I'm all about affordable education. You said education. I think it should be affordable. I think it's a right. Just put it out there right now. So I love Cal Poly. I'm just going to be real honest about that. And I think that Cal Poly was a life-changing experience, and I love college because I think college can be a life-changing experience for people if they allow it to be, right? And for me, the reason why college was such a life-changing experience was, you know, I had certain experiences growing up, but I didn't know how to put the words to it. You know what I'm saying? Or I didn't know that I wasn't the only one who had like certain kinds of experiences, right? So here I am in college, and then I take a gender, ethnic, multicultural studies class, and I'm like, what? What is this? This is fascinating, right? And they're like throwing out all these terms, and they're like talking about these like social issues, right? And I didn't know they were social issues, right? Because I'm just thinking, oh, I'm the only one who has immigrant parents, or, you know? And it was just mind blowing, right? And you know, back then, I don't know what y'all call it now. I think people call it being woke. You know, back then we called it decolonizing our minds. Do you remember that? But now y'all are woke, so whatever. Generational differences. But the point is that, you know, it was really powerful because in undergrad, that's when I really fostered, I think, a really commitment to social justice, right? And that's when I realized that there are a lot of oppressive systems, okay, that exist in our society, and I can be complacent, right, and exist within that system, or I can have agency and be empowered and really begin to challenge those systems of oppression. And so that, for me, and that's why I kind of wanted you to think about what your core values are, okay, because I think that will really inform and guide you in helping you think about what career you want to go to. And then not only that, but then how those values are going to inform the work that you do. You know what I'm saying? And so you know, going back to my experience, right, at undergrad, I got a lot of experience doing community organizing, right? So working in the community, realizing like, oh, wow, like you can make change about stuff? No way. Like you gather in a group of people people and you organize, like, whoa, you know, like my mind was being blown. And then doing a lot of education for myself, right, in terms of reading. And there's two authors that I'm going to mention right now that really changed my life. The first one, and they're both women, by the way. I just love that you all are women and women of color. Like, that's a big passion for me. And then, I don't know, it seems like you are, like, reflecting. I feel like you all are mirrors, right? I'm Chinese Ecuadorian. Like, you all appear to be, I don't know, Chicano, Latino, Asian Pacific Islander, related. But so Ana Castillo, okay, Massacre of the Dreamers, and then Gloria Anzaldúa, Borderlands, La Frontera, The Mestiza. Okay, so these were two really critical books that changed my life, and the reason why is because they were sharing, they were challenging, right? They're challenging their readers to consider that culture is always changing, okay, and that we, okay, all of us here, are active participants in creating and changing culture, okay? And these authors were inviting us as readers to consider that we have the power to change culture to be what we want it to be. And so if there are things which are oppressive, or things that we do not like about our culture, we have the power to say, okay, these things, faith, right, family, education, yeah, I like that. That patriarchy, you know, some of that other, you know, that sexism, you know, like, I'm good on that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And that was like fascinating to me because I had never heard that before. And so that was really powerful. And I think the other thing, and I already said it, but right, they go hand in hand. So the idea that you can change culture and that you're an active participant in changing culture, right? And then this idea of empowerment and self-empowerment and agency, and that all of us can do that. Those were like things that blew my mind that I think really stayed with me until this day, you know? And those are two things that I think are my core values that really guide me in terms of the work that I do and the person that I am. Yeah? Okay. So whatever. So I'm in undergrad, right? And I'm decolonizing my mind and I'm learning about all these social issues, right? So like juvenile justice, immigrant rights, the broken education system, you know, school to prison pipeline, racism, sexism, domestic violence, you know, like I'm just being, right, overwhelmed by all these social issues. And I'm like, fuck, I want to take it all on. Like, how do I do it, you know? And I really, you know, so I was like, I wanted to do anything. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just know that I wanted to fight against oppression, right? And then I was talking to a random teacher. I wasn't even really connected to this professor. But what moved me was I went into his, you know, office for, right? What's that called? Office hours. Office hours. Sorry, it's been a long time. It's been 10 years. My bad. So I went into the professor's office hours. And, you know, I was just talking to him like, oh, okay, what'd you do when you were, you know, working and stuff, whatever. And he showed me this list, right? And it was double-sided, right? And it was a grip load of jobs that you can do if you had an MSW. And I was like, damn, I really don't know what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? But that sounds right. Like, there's flexibility, like, there's a bunch of stuff you can do, like, okay. And then, right, when I began to think more critically about it in terms of my mentors, you know, I think the other truth about it was, and, you know, this going back to oppressive systems and wanting to fight against oppression, for me, it was like, if this is the population I want to work with, immigrant communities, communities of color, women, youth. I did a lot of youth work when I was in undergrad, a lot of youth work. I've been doing youth work since I was 20, so it's been 16 years now. What kind of career, degree, and or job would give me access to those communities? Does that make sense? If I want to make an impact in those communities, who's going to legitimize me to be able to go into those communities and do the work? Does that make sense? And so I went into social work, and, you know, and to be honest, I was just kind of like, I didn't really like it. Like grad school was really hard because I was coming from a like social justice background, you know, doing community organizing and then going into this like social work kind of place. And social work is cool. I mean, you know, I hope you look at those values because it's really powerful. But I guess I just wasn't really familiar with the material. You know what I'm saying? So it was all new to me, right? Because to go into social work, you don't necessarily have to major in social work as an undergrad, which I think is awesome because I think it's nice when you're able to be multidisciplinary. And I think especially having a background in gender, ethnic, multicultural studies and sociology critically informed the kind of social worker that I am today, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And I actually recommend that people kind of take that path, just because it so much informs the work that you do. But so I went to grad school, right? At University of Chicago. It was like one of the top 3 programs. Got my degree, and then I came out and started doing youth work. That's what my real passion was. My other passion was education. So I was doing, when I was in grad school, I helped develop like a college-bound program because that's what I had done in undergrad. So that was really gratifying and awesome because I was working with first-generation college students, right? And helping to prepare them to go to college. So that was awesome. And so when I came out of grad school, I got a youth job. And it was awesome because basically what we were doing is we were working with young people, helping to talk to them about social issues and encouraging them basically to be activists. That's the language I'm going to use. That's not the language our work used, but ultimately that's what it was. It was really encouraging young people, again, right, to be empowered and to have agency and to realize as high school students, their voice was powerful and that they had ability to make a positive change in their community. And so we did social justice work and it was amazing. But, you know, what I will say is, and I still miss that work because that was really amazing work. However, I think it was really hard for me because we were talking about all these social justice issues. But again, right, I'm working with youth who are living in very poor communities who are, you know, their parents are immigrants. And so I was becoming very frustrated in the work that I was doing because there were very real issues that my youth were going through in terms of their parents being deported, in terms of, you know, their housing wasn't always stable, not having money, you know, for things, living in communities that were very dangerous. And so I began to feel very frustrated because although I was working with them in this really amazing space, right, and it was a safe space for them, and it was almost, it felt like a relief for them and a place, right, where they can kind of really develop themselves, which I think was critical and amazing. I wanted to do more. And so that's when I was like, crap, well, technically this degree says I can do therapy. I never wanted to do therapy. Like that's just, that was never an interest to me at all. I just want to be really clear about that. I love people, I love talking, but you know, I just felt like therapy, well, that's a little bit too deep for me. But I thought, you know what? I think that's a really important skill set to gain, right? And it's gonna inform me in the work that I do. So I'm gonna do it, right? And then I wanna get licensed, right? Because again, you know, whether or not I believe in the system of social work, right? DCFS, Department of Mental Health, right? Whether or not I really believe in those systems or agree with all of their policies, I still have to understand how they work, you know what I'm saying? And I still have to legitimize myself in those fields, right? So do I really want to get a license? No, not really. But is it going to advance my career and then allow me, again, to work in the communities that I want? Yes. Okay, so I'm going to do it. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of have to make those choices and be mindful of those things and know why you're doing what you're doing. And so I started working at the agency that I work at now, which is Hathaway Sycamore's Child and Family Services. It's a really big agency. They work all throughout LA County. And yeah, and I guess I just want to be clear that within the field of social work, there is so much Okay, so I work with, children and families, but you could do substance abuse work, you could do domestic violence work. I mean, technically I had a homegirl who was working in this really amazing program where they provided legal assistance to immigrants who were in detention centers, and they had social workers on their staff. You can work with veterans, you can do gerontology, right? You can just focus on the little ones, right? You can focus on the development of little kids. So it's so broad the field. So I think that that's really amazing. But for me, what I'm passionate about personally is families. Okay, I'm focused on youth, but right, if you want to really support a youth, you got to work with the family, because usually that's kind of like where the source of the stress and chaos is coming from, is that family system. So I started doing therapy, and I guess I just also want to clarify, even within therapy, there are different levels of therapy. So I think when people think of therapy, they usually think about it in what we call outpatient, right? So I go see my therapist, right, once a week, and it's going to be all good and talk about stuff. So that's not the kind of therapy I do. The kind of therapy that I do is what we call like a higher intensive level of therapy. And basically what that means is I work with a population between the ages of 5 to 18. And these are youth who they're either coming out of a hospital, like a psychiatric hospital, because they've attempted to commit suicide, or they have had suicidal ideation, and or they have expressed homicidal ideation, meaning that they want to kill somebody. Or, youth who are coming out of the juvenile delinquent, setting, and or maybe foster youth, and they're bouncing around in multiple placements, and the social worker is trying to get them stabilized, what they call stabilized, so that they don't keep moving around. So that's the population I work with. So I just want to be really clear about that, just because I think that's a very different population than if you were just to do what we call outpatient, which is, I think, generally what people think of when they think of therapy. So I started doing that, and man, y'all, I've been in it for like 6 years. I'm about to, in January, it'll be 7 years, and I love it. I absolutely love it. And the reason why I love it is because I wasn't sure I loved it, but I think over the years, sticking with it and working through whatever issues I had, the reason why I love it, right, and it's coming full circle, right, going back to Ana Castillo, going back to Gloria Nzandua, and something that I didn't mention. So when I was in undergrad and I was studying all these different social issues, what became clear to me is that there are these things called generational cycles. What do I mean when I say generational cycles? What do you think I mean?
You're repeating the same habits or something that your family has been doing for a long period of time and continue to follow those steps.
Get it, Anai. That's generational cycles. Okay, and whether or not we realize it, we are participating in generational cycles, right? Just the fact that you're here, and, your parents are here. Anyway, okay. And so what I have come to realize in the work that I do and why I love it and why I think it's so amazing is because when we think about a lot of these social issues that we have in society, domestic violence, substance abuse, child abuse, a really big one that is happening more, sex trafficking. So real, y'all. Sorry, that's really real, sex trafficking. It scares the hell out of me. Suicide. When we think about all these different social issues, eating disorders, it's very much related to generational cycles, and it's very much related to family systems and unhealthy, right, habits that families have learned because of their own trauma and because of their experiences that they have lived through, and not being able to heal from that and really work through that. And so I'm all about it. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, I'm all about, right? Really inviting people. That's what I always tell my family. Like, look, I'm going to tell you some stuff and you're not going to like it. And it's all good because we can just agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, you have agency and you have choice. You tell me what kind of family you want to have. You tell me what kind of culture you want for you and your kids. You know what I'm saying? And then let's work together to get there. But some things are going to need to change. You know what I'm saying? And you can make a choice to make those changes or you cannot. And that's on you. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and I'm so mad, y'all, because I didn't bring this picture. I wanted to put out this picture by this amazing artist. She's part of this collective, Mujeres de Maíz. Her name's Marisol. Anyways, I use it a lot in my therapy. But anyways, to talk about empowerment. It's basically a mujer picking up herself. If you can imagine that. So imagine yourself standing, and then imagine yourself in your hands. I don't know. To me, that's just so powerful. You know what I'm saying? Because, and then the name of the art piece is called "Pick Yourself Up, Girl." Oh, how killer is that? You know, I use that outside. Anyways. So I, just to kind of wrap it up, I have a lot of time though. But we're gonna go into conversation after this. But just to kind of wrap that up, I guess I just want to say that for me, that's why the work that I do is so gratifying and so important, and why it's so exciting to me, because that, to me, that's social change. You know what I'm saying? The therapy work that I do with my families, the family work that I do with the families that I work with is about social change. Why? Because we are working together as a community, right, to address these issues, these generational cycles that are not healthy, that are existing. And we are inviting people to be empowered. We are inviting people to have agency, to recognize their own power, right, and to recognize their own agency to say, no. Can I cuss? Okay, probably shouldn't. Like, no, like, ya basta, like, enough is enough. And I don't want this anymore, and I'm not going to accept this anymore, and instead I'm going to work for this. And I think to be a part of that is like, you know what I'm saying? And it is the most inspirational thing ever to be able to really work with a family and see them work towards these changes and these goals and really feel empowered as people and to know that they did it themselves. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so yeah. so that's why I do the work that I do. Again, it wasn't like some really smooth, easy path. And I was like, I got this homegirl, Belinda, I love her. She's out in Ohio, and she's always known she wanted to be a social worker, so she studied it from the beginning, and, she was a straight shot. That's great, but not everyone's like that. You know what I'm saying? I have a colleague right now. She worked at, I don't know, Verizon or something for like 15 years. And then here she is, doing mental health work and, getting her MSW. So, I that's why I want to, bring it back, right, to core values. And that's why I asked you that first question, like, what kind of impact are you trying to make with your life? And it sounds like some of you kind of alluded to it through your core value of helping, of assisting, you know what I'm saying? And I think that those things are so important to kind of really think about in terms of the career path that you take. Because I do think that that's something that is different about my generation and about your generation, is that we have a lot of privilege, okay? Because of all this work that has been done from our ancestors before us, right? Civil rights movement and all that. And we actually have the privilege now to choose the kind of work that we do, right? And to choose how we want to make an impact. And so that's powerful, I think just to kind of wrap it up, and then I kind of want us to talk. I think the other thing, I was mentioning to Erin, it's ironic, right? We live in Southern California. But ironically enough, there are not a lot of people of color within the field of social work. I think maybe the last 10 to 20 years it's been really changing. I think especially the last 10 years. I think a lot of programs, USC, Long Beach, Cal State LA, are really helping to produce, more people of color, especially Chicano, Latino, mental health folks. But I think it's something that's still needed. And so seeing, this group that's really inspiring, because I think you all are needed in a lot of different fields. And I guess I just want to challenge you to really think about how you can use your own lived experience, whether it's social work or anything else, to inform the work that you do. You know what I'm saying? Because your lived experience is important in terms of doing that. And I think, one of the things that's so important in terms of the work that I do is cultural competency. You know what I'm saying? And really bringing in that cultural value in some of the work that we do, and being able to understand people's different cultures, right? And I think, again, this work has really challenged me in thinking about culture, right? Not just being Chinese Ecuadorian, but, more complex than that in terms of, the way you talk to people, what you allow, what you don't allow. Just a lot of different things. So, I could say more, but again, I'm passionate, but I don't like really talking a lot. I don't know. I'm interested in what some of your reactions are, or if there's questions, or could you relate to some stuff, or what fields are you interested in? Yeah. We can go around in a circle, but I would prefer people to volunteer to talk. I got your names, so I could just read them off.
And even if you aren't planning to go into the field of mental health, whether it's counseling or social work or whatnot, like hopefully like the pieces about your own lived experience and your values and how that resonates with your career decisions, like that can also be something that you want to comment on. Maybe I know for sure that some of you in this circle are still trying to figure out which careers you want to focus on, right? So maybe we can talk about that, or whatever else is kind of resonating with you.
Yeah.
So I'm a human services major, and I'm double tracking in mental health and social skills. So I'm considering a minor in Chicano studies. So I'm like right now I'm taking the route for like counseling, but a few weeks ago we went to like a fair and we talked to a rep from USC. It was me and my friend. And we talked to a rep from USC and UCLA, and kind of we're gearing us towards like taking that LCSW route in grad school. And like we're telling them how like it's like more opportunities in MFD. So I'm still like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So I think because like for me, I was not trying to do therapy. Like to me, it's kind of like, but I'm a therapist. I love people's reactions because I think I look funny. But you are so like certain that you want to do therapy or some sort of therapeutic work, then I think an MFT actually might be the best course for you. Because MFT is very much more psychological, and they take into consideration, they are thinking more about the individual. Right? So the biggest difference between MFT and MSW is that a lot of MFT folks usually get an undergrad in like psychology or something. And then, right, they're very individual minded, right? Whereas social work is considering the individual within the context of society, which is what I'm all about, and I don't think one is better than the other. I think it's just about approach, you know what I'm saying? And what resonates more with you. I think as you can see by my talk, it's like, I'm all about considering who people are within the context of society. So do you know for sure, like, do you feel really certain about?
No, I'm more like part of me does want to take that route, but also like part of me is like, oh, I also want to help my community.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're just more broad about it, because within MSW, you're still going to have the clinical track. So most MSW programs have different tracks. So there's a clinical track, which is like what I'm talking about, thinking about being more individual, right? Doing more therapeutic, being trained in that kind of way. But then like I did a different kind. Technically I don't have an MSW, I have another kind of degree, but it's equivalent. I got a master's in social service administration because I actually wanted to go into administration. And I'm still considering that. And then my emphasis was community organizing because that's what I'm passionate about. That's kind of what my background's in. And then I still ended up, you know what I'm saying, being therapeutic. So, I think you got to go with kind of whatever resonates with you, in terms of your passion. And then just kind of trust yourself that you're going to be able to use that to inform the work that you do. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about. At the end of the day, what I love about why I love being a therapist and why I love doing social work is, I'm so sorry, Erin, I have to cuss. I'm a big cusser, I'm a sailor. It will call you out on your shit. There is no way, Eliza, there's no way I could do therapy with you and be like, yeah, so you better do this and do that and practice this and practice that if I myself am not doing that. Do you get what I'm saying? It has to be congruent. I cannot talk about anything or be about anything that I'm not really about. You know what I'm saying? And you're gonna feel that, right? If I'm working with you and I'm your therapist and you're like, this lady's full of shit. And you will meet people who are full of shit, And that's part of it. And so I think, again, that's why I love the field, because I think I'm all about keeping it real. That field will keep it real. It is a field that will constantly make you eat humble pie. Like, you have to be so humble to be in this field, and you're constantly learning and constantly being challenged. But it's amazing because I don't know, that's the kind of person I am. I want to be challenged. I don't ever want to be complacent in who I am. Every day I want to wake up and be a little bit better, So anyways, yeah. But I think going back to what Erin was saying, and thank you, Angelica, for that very specific question. I don't know if you maybe had a really specific question or just...
I don't know what else.
Okay. There's nothing, no?
No.
Okay. But, and it doesn't have to be about social work. I guess I'm just curious, kind of like what Erin helped to reiterate, just thinking about your own lived experience, or thinking about, some of your core values. I know we haven't talked about the kind of impact that you all want to make with your life. How do you see that related to the fields that you are looking into? I'm sorry, I'm making you think. I thought about thinking y'all were critical thinkers. I'm putting you on the spot. It's all good.
I feel like the career we choose will eventually lead to happiness. And like you mentioned before, you're happy to with your career and who you are as a person. So that kind of says a lot about you. So you work towards your goal and eventually ended up as a social work. But at the end of the day, you're happy with what you do and the person who you are. And I think that's very valuable as individually. That's what I wrote for my first question. I wanted in the field that I will be happy with, and involving work, personal habits, and family, where I would just kind of be in a good mental state and always be in a good mood, I guess. Be happy with what I do and not be grumpy and negative about every day I want to work or anything like that.
Yeah, you want to love what you do. Yeah. And I think, I could expound on that, but I want to make space for other people to kind of share their reflections.
For me, at least, I know I want to make a cultural impact in my career. I want to be a PT or OT and physical therapy or occupational therapy.
Oh, I was like, I don't know what these acronyms
Oh,
are.
sorry.
I'm not cool like that. Okay.
I'm between deciding those two. But from volunteer experience and research, I've noticed there's a lack of Spanish-speaking physical therapists.
Oh, get it, girl. Yes.
And I definitely want to set an example for others and just and just myself break the language barrier down to the patients.
And I love that you said that. Don't tell me, Vanessa, right? I love that you said that, Vanessa, because that is so real, y'all, in any field that you go into. And that is an example of cultural competence, right? Like, how are we going to hold you accountable, right, to addressing some issue when we didn't provide him the freaking language that you speak? Like, that is so, it's huge. It's a humongous barrier. So I think if any of you are bilingual or even trilingual, like, that's so dope and that's so valuable. And I really hope that you could value that and strengthen it so that you can bring that into your respective fields. Because I think being able to provide services in the appropriate language, oh, mujer, like that is so what's up. Like that's really awesome. I love that. That's really great. What are other people's kind of thoughts or reflections? There was a lot of values mentioned. What about faith? What about my folks who have a really strong faith? How do you see that informing your work? Because that's a huge piece of social work. And even part of cultural competence. No pressure, I was just saying.
I'm sure there's a lot of things like going on in your head. And for me, like I know I'm an introvert and like I'll say things maybe 10 times in my head before I like spit it out. But yeah, you know, this is your opportunity to really share what's on your mind. I know we don't get to meet a lot as a hybrid class, so feel free to share your thoughts.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely, yeah. Or if you just want to ask a random question, I'm sorry, I'm like putting you on the spot, making you think, you know, about life. But we can just ask random questions. Yeah.
What was your most challenging working towards your goal in education and your social work, like emotionally or impact you and change you?
Oh, damn it, I mean, you want to get all deep and stuff. My most challenging one. Really good question. It's a great question. But you're thinking more like within a career, right?
Yeah.
Within your career, not education per se. What's my, okay. I got some bad news to break to y'all. I know, I'm sorry, I don't want to be like a downer, right? But I want to keep it real, right? So you can be prepared. And then I don't know if Erin is incorporating this into her program, but maybe since I share it, she can. So I think the thing that's interesting about being a first generation college student that I never thought of until after I graduated is that you also then will become a first generation professional. Have we talked about this? Have we talked about this a little bit?
I heard it like a few months ago and I was like, ooh, yeah.
So being a first generational professional is really interesting just because I think there are a lot of power dynamics, right? With supervisors, with human resources, that I think maybe negotiating your salary, finding value in yourself, right? And being able to really advocate for a fair wage or salary. I think especially understanding that you are women and then women of color, right? So I think that's really interesting, Anaí. I think that has been a little bit of a rough journey, but again, I think what has helped is, you know, your circle, right? Your peoples who are going to be first generation professionals with you. And so being able to talk to them and be like, whoa, yeah, so what's up? Like, how much y'all getting paid? How'd you come to that conclusion? Like, you know, or just informing yourself, right? In terms of knowing like what the average salary is and things like that. And, you know, and how to, I think, to navigate, you know, power situations and different things like that. But to be honest, Anaí, I think the biggest challenge that I've had in my work is, has been recently. Yeah, has been recently. I'm actually going to return to therapy for it. So I'm like, oh man, this is deep. I love your facial expressions. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, Ciara. I love it. But it makes me feel like you're engaged. You So it's cool. Yeah, so again, right, going back to, therapy, social work, right, it makes you keep it real. And so I think one of the most difficult things about social work and doing therapy, but I think you can find this in any work that you do, is something that we call countertransference. So it's when you're working with a family and, right, so as powerful as having a similar lived experience can be with the families you work with, the community you work with, it can also re-trigger a lot of stuff, right? I have a homegirl. I'll just speak in general terms, but I know someone who was undocumented and had a very, rough time growing up. And this person currently works, at a school. And so it can get really intense sometimes for her because, right, she's working with students and families who are undocumented, right? And then the struggles that they're struggling through, which are very similar to her own lived experience, right? In terms of, having to fear for deportation and then just having different financial struggles and knowing the limitations within job opportunities and what have you. And so I think you just have to be prepared for that. But that's in any work that you do, I think. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that you just have to be open to knowing that. And I think, again, as challenging as it may be, it's awesome though. Because with that challenge comes an opportunity, I think, to heal and to grow. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of my favorite rappers is Talib Kweli, and he made an album a couple years back called Beautiful Struggle. Like, that's real. Like, struggle is beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Because that's kind of what makes us who we are, right? So, yeah. I don't know if did that answer your question? Okay. Do folks have other questions or general questions? That was a good general question. That was fun. Do people want to share their impact? I'm kind of curious. Or I don't know if that feels too heavy. If folks also want to share, are people willing to share the kind of impact that they want to make with their life? You could say no. I'm all about consent. Yeah, or
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna take that as a yeah. If you don't, that's fine. Maybe you can share what career you're interested in, just because I'm kind of curious. Can I come back to you and then just make it around the room? Okay.
So I think the impact for my career and myself is like changing myself for a better. So it's like I'm really into community work. But for my major, it's kind of like contradicting what I want to do because I want to be a speech language pathologist. So it's like, and I want to be bilingual. And right now I'm having this, I guess, you could say where I'm not being allowed to do a double major because in my college, we're so just stratified to just do comms work. Like we can't do another major. And then for me, it was like getting involved with my community and like I want to be a bilingual speech pathologist. And then I think for me it's a setback that's like, well, I can't go into being a Spanish speech pathologist because I wouldn't be certified to get me. So then for me it's like, yeah, for me I'm really community based, and then like for me it's like I want to be in the community, but if this isn't allowing me, I was like, you actually like just other maybe social work would be an option.
Girl, what Elizabeth?
Yeah.
We'd love to have you on our team.
So it's like I'm still going towards my path, but it was just a setback I had right now. It's just like,
Oh, that's interesting though. That would be, I don't know, that really sucks. I'm so sorry about that. Yeah.
I didn't know that they don't let you double major.
yeah, I talked to them and then they're like you have to have like an actual a valid reason why you want to.
That's not a
I know, that seems pretty valid to me.
That seems very in alignment. I do know other comm disorders majors who have minored in Spanish.
Yeah, that's what they were telling me. Just take that path.
No. Now, don't give up just yet, you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
no,
Although
yeah.
I would love to have you in the field, if you're really passionate about that, I don't know, you might need to explore a little bit more
Yeah.
where it exists.
Yeah, for me, it's like wanting to help like local community. So essentially, that's what I want to do.
Come back to me, I was thinking about it.
I'm interested in becoming an occupational therapist, and I want to work with kids with special needs and just make their lives easier. Everybody's lives.
It's like I kind of want to make an impact on someone's life, just one way or another. Since I'm a physical therapist, and like I kind of went through like a feeling of not being able to like move properly since like in high school I kind of injuries. So it's kind of like a path that I was going through, and like at the moment I'm still kind of confused if I want to continue that path or just like. And like since I've been like introduced to like sociology and this kind of stuff, so I was just kind of like open-minded to like social injustices, and so I was just like, okay, I don't know what to do. So
And that's
it's either
okay.
like public health or like.
And Kim is a freshman.
Oh,
You gotta let it.
For me, I want to go into speech and language pathology. I as well want to work with children with special needs. Specifically because it hits close to home. I have a little boy with autism. So the impact that I want to make in my life is just being able to help kids. I feel like being able to help them, that would be my positive impact.
Absolutely. Awesome. So, like I said, I'm between physical therapy or occupational therapy, and I want to make an impact on my community to break it down in like careers. For me, I've kind of like gone around. I originally started out wanting to do PT, and I was like, no, I don't really want to do that. And then I'm thinking about OT, but I've also thought about social work. So I'm gonna do something not wrong, but I've always like my cousin. She's a social worker, and what she does is really impactful. Like she works with cancer patients, and she's amazing. But yeah, so what she does like what kind of like ignited the interest in that. And I guess I just want to help people be more independent.
like full potential.
Yeah.
Like helping people meet their full potential. Yeah.
And for me, I honestly don't know what I wanted to do yet. At first, I thought I want to do nursing, but also I feel like I really don't, just because generation, like what you said, like we did, because my grandma, she was like a nurse, so I feel like she wanted me to do nursing, even though I don't want to do it. But I'm not really sure if I don't want to do it. I mean, I'm really because what I felt I want to make sure that I'm happy with what I want to do in the future. So if I really don't want to do nursing, then why would I do it? Even though they expect me to do it, then why would I follow that path? And also I put that and what I put I want to do a profession where I'll be saving lives or helping people, which is being a nurse as well. But also I'm still I'm still thinking about if I want to do nursing or any.
Or something else
Yeah,
related to the medical field. I mean, there's a lot of, it's broad.
I'm a health science major right now, so I'm kind of exploring a lot within the medical field. I want to become a nurse, but then I've also taken a few sociology classes where I've learned about social injustice and women's rights, youth, a lot of injustices overall in America and around the world. So I also I consider being a sociology minor, but I'm still not sure whether. Yeah, definitely want to help people and make an impact in our community and improve.
Yeah, and I love it that people are still trying to figure things out. I mean, I feel like I'm still trying to figure things out. You know what I'm saying? I'm 36 years old. Well, we'll be in a couple months. So, I think the thing that I didn't mention that I think is really important, and I know it's mixed years up in here, but I think if you're interested in something or you're curious about something, you know, being able to find internships, volunteering, you know, because that's what really changed my life was getting this job in undergrad, mentoring youth, you know, like changed my life. I mean, ultimately that's what really has led to this path today is doing that mentoring work and just loving it, you know. So I guess I just would encourage you all to continue to be open, right, to different experiences and to really seek out, right, opportunities to explore maybe some of these other interests you have. Because either you will love it or you will be like, oh, wow, I really don't like this. I'm glad I did that because now I know I don't like that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think that's what's so critical and so awesome about undergrad. You have so many opportunities here. Work that. Work that. You know what I'm saying? Because it will help to kind of just clarify things. And then I think the other thing is, you know, we're multifaceted people. Yeah, like maybe it is really two things you can be really good at. So sometimes you just gotta make a choice. Yeah. Yeah. I'm so happy to meet all of you all. This is so cool. I love young folks. Yeah. All right.
And if anyone has any other questions, they can shoot you an email.
Yeah. I don't. Did you put my contact on?
I did. It's right under your photo.
Perfect.
Is that cool?
Yeah, so that's my email. Shoot me an email. I'm all about like, hey, what's up? And you know what I'm saying? Right? I'm approachable. I'm approachable, yeah.
Do you work here on campus or do you?
No. So I work at a social service agency out in Covina. It's called Hathaway Sycamores. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you know, yeah, whether you're interested in social work or just kind of wanna, you know, keep in touch about stuff. That's cool. Yay, well thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you being here. So
Yes. Thank you. We just have a little thank you.
Oh, I know. That's so sweet that y'all do that. That's so thoughtful.
And so just to kind of close things out.